Hey, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Ivy, and today I'm going to be talking about Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. I am so excited to talk about this book. Right, so this is the first book in the Last Hours trilogy, and it's the sequel to the Infernal Devices trilogy. I would highly recommend that you read the Infernal Devices before you read this one, although you don't really have to enjoy it, but if you do, then you will enjoy this one a whole lot more. This follows Cordelia Carstairs, and she is moving to London with her mom and brother because her dad, Elias, has been accused of committing a crime, and she and her mom and brother want to salvage the family legacy. Cordelia is excited about the move because she's going to be reunited with Lucy Herondale, who is her parabati-to-be, and also James Herondale, who she may or may not be in love with. That is how this book begins, and we go on an adventure, and this is just such a good book, and you should read it if you have any doubts. I highly recommend it. I had so much fun. I'm so excited for the next two books. But that is all that I'm really going to say in the non-spoiler section because I don't know, I need to talk about this. So if you haven't read this one yet, bye. I don't want to spoil it for you, so peace out. It took me all of one chapter to fall in love with the Merry Thieves. Friend group is definitely the best part of the book for me, like hands down. I just loved reading about them and, you know, spending time with them. If Thomas and Christopher don't become parabati by the end, I'm going to be extremely upset. We get thrown right into it when James, you know, just casually gets sent to a demon realm. Apparently this has happened to him before, but like they don't really know why it happens, but you know, he's dealing with it. It's fine. Right in the beginning, we go to this ball, and I, for one, am a sucker for ball scenes. I would love to go to one myself, but I feel like once I got there, I would be just so uncomfortable. But at this ball, James and Cordelia are dancing and everything's fine, but then James decides to just leave Cordelia out there on the dance floor alone and go over to Grace Blackthorn. This is when I fell in love with Matthew because he comes and saves Cordelia from humiliation, and I am in love. Also at this ball, Lucy sees this boy who she saw years ago in the forest, and she learns that he's actually the ghost of Jesse Blackthorn, and she's the only one who can see him besides Tatiana and Grace, which is very interesting. James is so obviously in love with Cordelia, and it kind of annoyed me because I don't know, they're just like, how could you ever be in love with me when it's literally the most obvious thing ever. Then we get a flashback to Cordelia reading to James when he was sick, and I love this so much. In a lot of the Shadowhunters books, there's the theme of books kind of bringing people together, and I just love that so much. Then we go to the picnic, and the picnic was when I fell in love with Anna Lightwood. She's just so awesome, and I love how she's treated by the fellow Shadowhunters. Like, obviously not everyone, you know, accepts her really, but they just kind of let her do her thing. We get the weird demon attack, which is like kind of the beginning of this whole thing, and Piers, Barbara, and Ariadne, I don't know how to pronounce her name, are wounded, and people are freaking out because it was daylight and this has never happened before, blah blah blah. So Lucy and Cordelia go to Chiswick Manor because Lucy wants to talk to Jesse, and when Cordelia had to distract Tatiana and Grace, I was laughing so hard. Like, it was just such an awkward interaction between them. And then Cordelia goes to the greenhouse where she is attacked. Luckily, James follows the light of Cortana through the Shadow Realm, which is very interesting. Cortana obviously played a big role in this book, which I love because Cortana is just so cool, but I feel like she's gonna have an even bigger part in the next two books. Anyway, James comes and helps Cordelia fight off the demon. Meanwhile, Lucy was talking to Jesse, and this is so strange. When Lucy goes to talk to Jesse, it briefly mentions her seeing a blonde young man who looked familiar to her, and I am going crazy trying to figure out who the heck that is. So James gets a note from Grace saying that she needs to meet up with him because she's in danger, and he's like, okay, I'ma go save my girl, and just ew. Anna invites Cordelia to tea, and I love the interactions between these two because they're so different yet so alike, and I don't know, I love their dynamic. Anna, Matthew, and Cordelia go to the salon, and when they're there, Cordelia is a genius, and she basically convinces Hypatia to help them because she saves Hypatia and Malcolm from being poisoned. That comment from Malcolm about like, oh, I hope you don't have blackthorn blood, do you? I completely lost my marbles at that part. We get a flashback of Thomas and Alistair having a little fling in Paris, and it's really weird. I don't know what to think, really. I think Thomas obviously still has feelings for Alistair. I'm not sure where Alistair is in this. When James meets up with Grace, she has the audacity to tell him, like, yo, let's elope. Like, hello, he has a life. I don't care that you're, like, sheltered and your life has sucked. Like, you don't just get to rip him away from his life. Like, you are just so selfish. I had already strongly disliked her, but this was the moment when I was like, okay, we hate her. She's disgusting. The Cerberus demons attack, and one of them, like, talks to James and is saying, like, ooh, your grandfather is a prince of hell, blah, 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 which I was like, oh, that's probably not good. Barbara dies, and I wasn't too sad about it because I didn't know her that much, but I was obviously so sad for Thomas and Gideon and Sophie because I just love them, and my heart broke for them. It was very interesting to see how these kids are dealing with this loss because even though they're Shadowhunters, they've never experienced anything like this. So Cordelia eavesdrops on Alistair and Charles, and whew, yikes. Charles is so toxic already. And obviously I'm not a fan of Alistair that much either. He's growing on me. But Charles is disgusting. Like, he's not on Grace's level of disgusting, but he's pretty gross. A bunch of the peeps go to Emmanuel Gast's flat because Ragnar Fell gave them the address. And while they're there, they find his body just completely mutilated, which was kind of gross. Lucy somehow summons his ghost, and they're talking to him, and basically someone hired him to summon a demon and then killed him and set the demon loose. Kind of terrifying. We also get this scene where Lucy brings up Matthew's drinking problem, and he gets really upset. As much as I love Matthew, like, that's obviously a really big issue, but I feel like there's definitely a lot that he has not told anyone that he is going through. Grace dumps James to be engaged to Charles after she literally asked him to elope with her. Grace obviously has some weird powers to her or something, because when she makes Matthew kiss her, like, that was not voluntary on his part. Just what is up with her? I hate her. This is gross. I don't like it. Cordelia has the fantastic idea to ask Anna to help them get a Pyxis because they need one to trap the Manticore demon in it. One of my favorite parts of this book was the sibling relationships because we got, like, Lucy and James, and they're, like, close, and, you know, they have a really good, solid brother-sister relationship. But then on the other side of that, we have Cordelia and Alistair, and their relationship is much more complicated and, like, strained, but also they're close, and I enjoyed the heck out of that. When Anna sent Cordelia those dresses, I was so excited. Anna can do no wrong, okay? So Lucy, James, and Christopher spy on the Enclave meeting, and I don't know about you, but that just gave me some real flashbacks to a certain trio who did the same thing in the Infernal Devices. At the Hell Ruelle, Cordelia does this crazy dance thing, which is, like, really cool. Charles shows up, which is really weird, and I feel like we just kind of brushed over the fact that Charles just came to the Hell Ruelle. Like, what the heck are you doing there, Charles? Then we have the scene where James and Cordelia make out, and then they have all this stupid miscommunication, like, oh, it was just an act, but I'm really in love, and they're both thinking that, but they both think that the other doesn't love them, and oh my god, it's so insufferable. This whole, like, miscommunication thing is so dumb, like, so incredibly dumb. It's the one thing about Cassandra Clare books that I just can't stand. It's when, like, the two that are supposed to be the main couple are just like, you know what? No. Like, there's no way they return my feelings. No. Even though they've literally told me like 5 billion times that they do. Anna does end up getting the Pyxis from Hypatia because, you know, she's Anna Lightwood and she's fantastic. So naturally, our group has to, you know, clear the demon out of the Pyxis, which goes fine, but then Magnus shows up and I love him so much. He's just like, okay, I don't know what's going on here, but he agrees to help them because he is just the best, and everyone needs a Magnus Bane in their life. It was very interesting how Lucy summoned, like, a bunch of ghosts to save her. This finally leads Lucy to discover that she has really cool ghost powers, and I don't know why it took this girl so long, but, like, so cool. Another thing about Lucy is I love that she's a writer. Like, that just makes me so incredibly happy. So we learn a little bit more about Jesse Blackthorn. Basically, he died when he was ruined for the first time because he was like really sickly and couldn't handle it, and the locket that he wears contains his last breath, which could in theory bring him back to life, I think. We get this flashback, I think it was maybe 2 pages long, that Matthew freaking killed someone, and how dare Cassandra Clare just be like, casually, on like literally 2 pages, say, oh yeah, by the way, Matthew murdered someone, and then just never talk about it again. Something that made me angry was that people in this book kept hiding stuff from Cordelia to protect her when she's like the most capable person ever, and she does not need to be protected from the truth. When Christopher got wounded, I was so scared. I didn't think he was actually gonna die, but then I was like, wait, he might actually die. I loved that beautiful scene between Sona and Cordelia where Sona tells her that she's pregnant because, I don't know, their relationship was just so like awkward and like strained, and they finally connected in that scene, and I thought it was really well done. James and Matthew and Cordelia go to the Silent City after they get a note from Jem, which obviously was not from Jem. Like, Lucy and Thomas have gone to Chiswick Manor to get this weird plant thing for the antidote, and Lucy overhears Grace talking to a demon about how Tatiana, like, has made some shady deals to, like, help Jesse or whatever. Yikes. Lucy basically makes Jesse take her to where James is, which was not cool, but, like, she didn't really have a choice. James has gone through the gate and is in this demon realm, and this is when we finally figure it out. James's grandfather is Belial, one of the princes of hell, and Belial has sent the Manticore and the sickness in order to get James to come to him so that he could possess James and go to the human world. James ends up killing the Manticore with his, like, crazy world-shifting powers, which was pretty cool, and then Cordelia wounds Belial with Cortana, and the world starts to crumble, and then they escape, and then James is about to die. So then Jesse gives James his last breath, and I was sitting there, and I was reading, and I was crying, and then I can't believe I didn't see it coming. Like, looking back, that's literally the most obvious thing ever. I thought that this meant that Jesse would be, like, gone, but apparently he's not. While James is recovering, he is visited by the lovely Miss Blackthorn, and she puts her bracelet back on, and all of a sudden he's in love with her again. And this is when all the pieces of the puzzle clicked into place. I was not okay. I came very close to throwing my book out the window. Tatiana accuses James of burning down Blackthorn Manor, and, you know, things are looking pretty bleak for James, but then Ophelia decides to, you know, lie and say, oh no, we were having sex. Oh my god. She ruins her entire life for this boy who has done nothing but hurt her in this book. I get that she's in love with him, but he has not treated her right at all. Obviously, he's not himself, but she doesn't know that. She does not know that he is under a spell. So that, of course, leads to James proposing to her, so they're gonna get married as friends, which, you know, is fine, but, like, awful. I hate it. Learned that Elias has finally been released, which for some reason just didn't seem that great to me anymore. Cordelia is, you know, happy, I guess, but she wants him to go to the Basilius because he is an alcoholic and needs help. So our final chapter is the freaking engagement party, which is just so awful and awkward on so many levels. Alistair, though, finally dumps Charles. Like, he's just like, goodbye to your sorry butt. Thank goodness. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Alistair, but no one deserves frickin' Charles. It seems to me that James is kind of sort of fighting Grace's weird spell thing, because he was like kind of iffy about what was going on when he was talking to her on the balcony, but like, I don't know what's going on, honestly. We learn a little bit more about Anna and Ariadne. So Ariadne apparently was Anna's first kiss and her only love, and obviously they're gonna get back together, and I'm so excited for that storyline. I can't wait for more of Anna. Speaking of Alistair, Matthew finally tells Thomas the truth about what Alistair had been saying about them, and then Thomas, you know, kind of disowns Alistair and he has to go and cry, which is sad because I do think that he is sorry for what he did, but also that is just so unforgivable. The fact that it's looking like Lucy and Grace are going to be working together is it's not okay. Magnus decides that he's going to try to help Matthew, who obviously has some issues, so I'm excited for that because Magnus is just a legend and he can do anything. Time for the epilogue. What the fork happened in that epilogue? Okay, so I need something to hold so that I can... So Tatiana, this entire time, has been working for Belial. I'm not going to say with, because it's definitely not a with situation, it's definitely a for situation. I can't believe I didn't see it coming. I'm not the brightest when it comes to predicting stuff, and the bracelet was supposed to prepare James for Belial to, I don't even know what, but what? Maybe Grace knew about what the bracelet was really supposed to do, and she took it from James because she was trying to help him and have him not be possessed. But I don't know, because I really do not think that Grace has a soul. Also, Belial mentioned something about him having an anchor, and I'm thinking that Jessie is that anchor. Basically, Tatiana is going into the Adamant Citadel, where she's going to be, like, imprisoned, but she's really going there to help Belial with his attack. And I'm so upset. I can't believe we have to wait until March for the next book. What even? Alright, my final thoughts. Obviously, I really enjoyed it. I had such a good time reading this. But there were some things that bothered me, and I did have some trouble getting into it. I do feel like now that it's kind of more set up and I know the characters more, like, I'm super attached to them, and I think it's setting up the next book so freaking well. Overall, this was great. I'm in love with all of these people except freaking Grace. I'm so excited for Chain of Iron. Like, it cannot get here fast enough. That is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you made it all the way to this point. Like, that means so much to me. I don't even know what I said in this video other than just craziness. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will see you next time with another video. Bye.